Welcome to the new episode of the How To podcast. In today's episode, you will find out how to learn English irregular verbs. English can be a funny language, and it may seem like it breaks all the rules, especially if you're learning it as a second language. Irregular verbs, for instance, are rule breakers. They don't follow the standard rules for making them past tense. While you can learn a few patterns, eventually you'll need to work on memorizing each form. In today's episode, you will learn that it's not as hard as it sounds. Learn the basics, and focus on the most common irregular verbs when you're first starting out. Practice your irregular verbs, and read and listen to native speakers to help you remember them. Make sure you listen all the way through. So let's get started.
Tip 1. Learn the definition of irregular verbs. To truly learn irregular verbs, you need to first understand what makes a verb irregular. An irregular verb is any one that doesn't follow the standard rule of making a verb past tense. The standard rule is to add ed to a verb to make it past tense. For instance, a regular verb is to want. To make it past tense, you add ed to it, making it wanted. Wanted is also the past participle. The past participle is what usually follows have or has in English, such as I have wanted. An irregular verb doesn't follow this rule. For instance, to begin is an irregular verb. The past tense is began, while the past participle is begun. Irregular verbs don't follow any specific patterns. Some irregular verbs are different in American and British English. Try to focus on one or the other when you're learning irregular verbs. For instance, British English adds t at the end of more verbs to make them past tense, such as dreamt.
Tip 2. Understand that some irregular verbs stay the same in each form. A verb like set is the same in the infinitive, the past tense, and the past participle. That means that you don't change at all for these three forms. You would say, I set the book down here, present, I set it there yesterday, past tense, and I have set it there, past participle. Other verbs that fall into this category include the following: let, spread, shed, thrust, split, upset, hurt, shut, put, burst, hit, cut, and cost.
Tip 3. Look for verbs that stay the same in the past tense and past participle. Other verbs change when going from present tense to past tense. However, they stay the same when moving from the past tense to the past participle. For example, keep and shoot are examples of these verbs. For keep, you'd say, I keep this with me all the time, present, I kept it with me all the time, past tense, or I have kept it with me the whole time, past participle. These verbs fall into several patterns. Some verbs change vowels, such as sit, sat, and get, got. Some verbs add t at the end, often exchanged for a vowel or consonant elsewhere in the word. Examples include feel, felt, lend, lent, keep, kept, or build, built. Other verbs add d, sometimes with an extra vowel or vowel consonant changes, such as pay, paid, say, said, sell, sold, tell, told, hear, heard, and stand, stood. Verbs like bring, buy, fight, and think change to brought, bought, fought, and thought. These verbs add ght.
Tip 4. Notice that some irregular verbs change in each form. Some verbs have a different form for present, past, and past participle, making them all the harder to learn. Unfortunately, this category includes some of the most common verbs, such as be and go. For instance, for to be, you'd say, I am here, present, I was there, past, and I have been there, past participle. In this category, some verbs take en in the past participle, such as break, broke, broken, fall, fell, fallen, ride, rode, ridden, seesaw, seen, and speak, spoke, spoken. Other verbs change the vowel to an eat in the past tense and or add wn in the past participle. Examples include flow, flew, flown, draw, drew, drawn, show, showed, shown, and grow, grew, grown. Still others take different vowels in each form, such as swim, swam, swum, begin, began, begun, sing, sang, sung, and drink, drank, drunk.
Tip 5. No, some verbs lose letters in the past tense and past participle. Most verbs become longer or stay the same length in the past tense. Verbs like light become shorter in the past tense and past participle, lit. That can confuse some learners. Shoot is another example, as it becomes shot in the past and past participle.
Tip 6. Find an extensive irregular verb list. You can find some patterns in irregular verbs. However, you'll likely need to just memorize most of them. Start with a list of the most common irregular verbs, such as these two that you will find in the description of the video.
Well, that's all for today's episode of How To Podcast. Thanks for stopping by. Join again next time for new interesting episodes.